murder a liberator, but you can't murder liberation. You can murder a revolutionary, but you can't murder revolution. And you can murder a freedom fighter, but you can't murder freedom.
You're tapped in, so let's get right to it. 4th of July weekend turned out to be something to talk about, especially in Newport Beach. Newport Beach got a dose of what residents there are calling riots and looting over the 4th of July weekend. Well, what happened on Saturday, July 4th, 2026, Newport Beach's Balboa Peninsula drew huge holiday crowds that turned chaotic by the evening. Police say social media posts drew a large influx of juveniles and young adults that caused chaos and riots at Newport Pier and surrounding areas. As the crowd swelled, the people blocked roadways, restricted emergency vehicle access, and threw explosive mortars and fireworks at police officers and into densely packed crowds near families with children. Now, in terms of the looting and damage, there are videos showing teens and young adults looting a Pavilion's grocery store, stealing street signs, uprooting palm trees and leaving piles of trash across the peninsula. Police response authorities declared an unlawful assembly, closed the beaches around 10:50 p.m. and issued dispersal orders using less lethal measures while mounted police on horses charged into crowds to break things up. More than 350 officers from 17 agencies responded, and a 999 officer needs help call brought in reinforcements. One officer was hit by a mortar and needed treatment from the fire department. So the scale in terms of arrests, they say there were over 402 arrests made between the start of July 4th and the 6 a.m. on July 5th, a sharp jump from roughly 60 arrests the previous year. The fire department responded to 102 emergency incidents that day, including 10 fires, and transported 44 people to the hospital. Now, in terms of aftermath, by Sunday, crews had removed debris and cleaned the streets, sidewalks, and public spaces to restore the peninsula. With police remaining deployed over the weekend, city officials are reportedly discussing measures for next year, including possibly restricting outside visitors. And I wonder how that's going to turn out. Anyway, so what we're hearing in terms of this incident on July 4th is that the residents of Newport Beach are claiming that all this rioting and looting came from the Black and brown communities who lived outside of Newport Beach. Of course, I have footage, and we're going to show the opposite of that statement. Now, as to whether or not Newport Beach residents participated in these riots or the looting, things of that which occurred, remains to be seen. We don't know for sure if any of these Black and brown individuals were from Newport Beach. What is seen, though, in the clips is that there are many more whites involved in this than people of Black and brown color. Again, you see something with your own eyes, and yet there is a narrative being created to give you this impression mentally of something else. The old story, the old saying, don't believe your lying eyes. Believe what we say you should believe in the media. That being said, I'm gonna drop this clip and give you guys an idea of what I'm talking about. But I think the gist of the issue or the matter is we see a lot of this nowadays where certain segments of society are quick to place the blame on others outside of that or any particular society. When trouble comes into any of these communities, one of the first go-tos is that these people aren't residents here. They're not from here. This is what you hear most of. And then also residents are saying, hey, we don't do that here in our city. I don't know if most of them are really knowledgeable or accept the fact that their children, young white adults, boys and girls, participate in this type of activity. The clips I have going to show multitudes of them in the fray, if you want to call it that, just as much, being destructive as they are just being bystanders. So let's drop this clip. Before we do, as always, please like, share, follow, and subscribe to Tapped. You are tapped into the art of political discourse. We appreciate your viewership and participation. Enough said. Let's get to these clips, and you guys tell me if you see what I see. Okay. Okay. This first clip. And this first clip it's a news report, and it's just showing, people. All right. Now, those are the officers on horseback. They ran down an individual. Actually, he was ran down, and they apprehended him over in this area here, right there. Yeah. Now, I I see people of all color, people of all colors, and it just won't be in this video. That looks like a white guy right there. So yeah, police on horseback arrested several teens after an unruly crowd overwhelmed Newport Beach, California on Saturday, July 4th. Okay, there's that. And again, it's just a multitude of people, and there's no distinct representation of black and brown individuals in these crowds that we're looking at. All right, that's one video. And let me show you the other one. This other video is a little more telling, actually. And this is around the nighttime. All right. This occurred in the evening. And the caption is "Great job, Gavin Newsom." This is the pavilion. That was a white guy there throwing that trash can. And the police are in mass. They're very deep. This is part of the first clip I showed you initially. And again, you see, look, I can stop that and probably zoom in, let you guys get a better picture of that. But you see everyone in there. Look at that. I mean, they're everywhere. And again, all shades, all shades. Hmm. It's a white guy up there. And I take it this is the Pavilion supermarket. And this is the looting aspect of it. Yeah. Yeah, you see that. Yeah, white guy there. Mm-hmm. It's a Gavin Newsom, you're a role model. So there's that. Now, the point we want to make, or I like to make, is that again, we have a thing in society where white people tend to want to point the finger at everyone else, excluding themselves, especially when it comes to riots, looting, things that destruction of property, things of that nature. Those two videos, short as they were, you don't see black and brown being the culprit in terms of what took place in Newport Beach. What I saw was an influx of all, individuals, and especially youth. There are whites involved in this. Now, whether or not they're from Newport Beach, who can say? Even those in the comments are making comments as to whether or not they were white, one, and two, if they were from Newport Beach. You know, um, it's sad nonetheless. Yeah, there's destruction of property. It's sad that people can't come together and have a good time. It seems that, whenever youth get together, I don't care if they're black, brown, white, yellow, red, this is how they tend to act out. And that's their way of celebrating, in a lot of instances while growing up, a lot of us did not do that or participate in that type of celebratory activity. We have that now, in this country and actually all over the world. When the youth take to the streets, you can best believe something is going to occur that would be out of the norm. Well, especially in terms of when older people get together, they, want to have a good time, relax, enjoy, the atmosphere, the environment. That's different for you. That's different uh, for youth in this day and age. And you don't have to be black or brown, to be, in this country, youth causing trouble. You could be just as white, you know. So we wanted to make that point because we thought that point was relevant. And again, when we're talking about what takes place in a lot of these communities, especially when they're predominantly white communities, there's always a passing of the buck. It's always someone else who's not a part of the community that will come into the community and tear it up. And again, we find that to be not a truth. We find that to be a lie, you know, a lie. It makes you wonder how many white parents, mothers and fathers in that community in particular, knew exactly where their children were and what they were doing. I'm willing to wager not many, if any at all, could tell you exactly what their child was doing that night at Newport Beach. The wager is they were out there in the fray with everyone else, So it's a disservice to others when you have one demographic that tends to act like or portray themselves like, oh, they're above mayhem and chaos, and most of us know that's not true. But this is the behavior or the attitude we get from those communities, the people from those communities. They're always quick to say, we don't do this here. Well, obviously, someone in your community, a lot of someones in your community actually do. It's hard to fathom that all these people who are participating on that day, July 4th, Newport Beach, were all outsiders. Just think about that. That doesn't make sense. None at all. So we wanted to post that and show that those two clips, it was just a gathering of youth, all walks of life, all shades and colors, participating in that 4th of July celebration. Now, throwing live fireworks into crowds of people was something, again, a lot of us didn't grow up doing that. This is what the youth do now. Not that we agree with it. We think that's dangerous and people can actually end up injured as a result. Um, but that's what happened. All right. So to lace or place the blame on any two demographics, black or brown, is just wrong. Seeing what we see in the clips, we see all walks of life, shades and colors participating in not just the celebration, but the destruction of the streets in Newport Beach, the tearing down of palm trees, the looting of supermarkets, uh, the throwing fireworks in the crowds we saw, or it could be viewed in there. Um, Whites, just as well as blacks and Mexicans, participating in this activity. So, give it the attention it deserves. When you're going to address something of that magnitude, of that nature, then it should be unbiased. You know, it should be said in such a way where everyone is held accountable and not one or two different ethnicities or demographics. That should be the way you go about doing it. Not only that, but just like any other parent, those of you who say that your children don't do these types of things should, kind of be mindful of the fact that they possibly could. And more than likely, they probably are involved in that type of stuff. All right. That being said, let us know what you think in the comments. Uh, could residents of Newport Beach have been involved in those riots, that chaos, and that looting? Or is it the outsiders who come in from surrounding cities and other states, even, or can be the ones, or are the ones who should be held accountable, or is the reason why Newport Beach 4th of July celebration turned out the way it did. Your comments means a great deal to us. We'll go and check them out. We'll read them and respond to them as well. That being said, take care of yourselves and each other.
You can murder a liberator, but you can't murder liberation. You can murder a revolutionary, but you can't murder revolution. And you can murder a freedom fighter, but you can't murder freedom.